It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Scent Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Turkey Calls,
Antler Action,
Family Tradition Tree Stands,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal podcast, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams. Tired, wore out, snowed in.
Well, you're not snowed in now.
Well, I was. But we're back.
You had to, it seems like every other day this week we've been snowing ourselves out, digging out. Friday today.
Was horrible. Snowed again yesterday while we were gone. Snowed again this morning. So
right, exactly.
It's just been boom, 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 boom. I think we got snow 4 out of 5 days or 5 out of 6. So,
but at least we missed it yesterday.
That we did. We were on the road. We took a trip.
We went to school.
Yeah, we took off early, 5:30 yesterday morning.
The roads were a little slick.
Yeah, they were. Once we got a couple counties away, though,
yeah, it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't bad, and then by the time we were 3 counties away, the freeway was dry, and it was drop the hammer and roll north. So,
and you know what? It's kind of I don't know if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, but we have more snow down here than they have up north. That
was a good thing for us. At least this weekend.
Well, yeah, and it's also good for the deer, right?
It is good for the deer. You know, we're seeing...
Since we were talking deer.
Yeah, that's something we talked a lot about, was the fact that, I think the lack of snow, and what we saw at my camp yesterday afternoon, it kind of lends some truth to that, is the fact that we saw a lot of deer.
Well, plus...
They were browsing, and...
You made mention it's probably one of the very first times that you can remember that you were able to drive to the back of the property.
Yeah, drove all the way from the gate into camp, which they keep the road plowed. But I was able to drive unobstructed from camp all the way to the north end of the property.
You were in 4-wheel drive, but I don't think there was one
spot we needed. Yeah,
you just kind of rolled and you were fine.
I think it was 6-8 inches deep at the most.
Maybe, and that was on the side of that hill, the one hill. But
yeah,
it was no big deal.
No, it was nice. It was nice seeing the deer out there. It was nice seeing them do their thing, and they looked good. The ones we saw, we did see quite a few. So, but no, we rolled up north. We got up to. For those of you who don't know, that are listening to the show, we went up to Turtle Lake, the oldest deer hunting camp in Michigan, according to Dr. Kroll, Dr. James Kroll, a.k.a. Dr. Deer.
1884.
Yep, that was the established date on their front gate.
Yep.
1884 here in Michigan. They own 26,000
acres. And then what we were discussing, we were driving, is like, okay, so how did they get there in 1884?
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't a 2.5 hour trip up the road.
No, and really, once we left the pavement, we were on dirt roads, today's dirt roads for 7 to 10 miles.
Yeah.
So it was all dirt roads back then, or pig trails.
Right, exactly. So, but no, I tell you what, it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was a few hours. Well, of course, we saw a bunch of our friends there.
Yep.
From Lincoln Roan to Ann Mitterling. We met a couple new people.
Mm-hmm. Perry Wood was there. We met the new liaison for the DNR. Yep, the habitat, not habitat, the
health
biologist. She's working in the TB zone, going to help kind of get that communication going between the DNR
and the public,
the cattlemen, and the deer hunters.
Yeah, and
trying to come up with solutions.
Right now, she's working in the TB area, but she's actually for the state of Michigan.
Right.
So she's obviously she was in the TB area, so that's what she'll concentrate, and then she'll concentrate on CWD. She's the liaison to bring it all together, and one person's going to talk to the other person, and
the DNR CWD specialist, a biologist, Kelly Struck, was there.
Yep.
Got to meet her. Like I said, Perry Wood was there. Of course, Wayne and Luke Sitton, thank you for inviting us up to camp to be a part of that. Dr. Deer, Dr. James Kroll, got to see him and talk with him. And actually, we interviewed him kind of on the fly as they were cutting deer up and things. So
it was kind of neat to interview him as he worked.
Yeah, so we got some photos that we're going to roll through tonight.
And just so you know that these photos were taken during the health check.
So... Disclaimer right now.
Yes.
For people on the podcast, you're not going to be able to see me. You have to go to the live stream. But for everybody on the live stream, if you've got anybody that's got a squeamish stomach, or if you've got young kids and you don't want them seeing blood, guts, and gore, I make sure that you have them tune away, because what we're going to show you is inside a deer. We're going to show you deer fetuses. We're going to show you
inside, outside, everything of a
the
deer.
whole 9 yards. Show you how on the fetus the little buck parts, the whole 9 yards. So if you're squeamish, don't look. If you got little ones there and you're worried about them seeing something, just to do quick disclaimer, you might want to look away. So
right.
But
it was neat. It was really cool. There's about 35 people there when we got there.
Right.
Throughout the day, they gave us a great lunch.
Yep.
And it was nice that he took the time at different moments. And it wasn't any specific moment. It was just as he was going through it, he found something. And, hey, guys, whoa, everybody gather around.
Yep.
Teaching moment. And then he would explain whatever he was looking at or what he was seeing or wasn't seeing.
Right. And I've talked about this on the show before. This was my fourth time. Actually, my third time being on location. I watched one online. The very first one that I saw was online, and then the next 2 years I went. It's been a couple of years since I've been up there.
And this was their actual 15th.
Yep.
One that they've done.
Yep.
Your fourth, like you said, my first, and in a new building.
Right. Yeah. New facility. Beautiful facility. Heat. Yes. Heat. That was a nice thing. That was a lovely thing.
Right.
But the picture you're seeing here right now, this is where they bring them into the back door of the shop, and they're weighing them. You can see the kind of the edge of a front loader there. They got up in the air with a scale. You can see the little red thing above the deer there. That's the actual digital scale.
It's kind of becoming a game for everybody as they're weighing them, what they were.
Yeah, they guessed what it was.
And just so everybody knew, what they did was they had sharpshooters, people that were picked to go out,
handpicked,
and go do the shooting.
Yes.
So they were out with snowmobiles, vehicles, out on the property, shooting. Basically, they were neck shots.
Yep.
And then they would put them in the truck, and then they would bring them right to this spot here, and then this is the first station, the weigh station.
Yeah, and these deer that were taken off special permits. They're
that's one thing. The DNR was there watching, tagging, who shot it, to weight, age. They wrote everything down on
the area it came
tags.
From. They were targeting certain areas on the property that they want these deer to come from. But these are basically disease permits that they obtained, and which allowed them to shoot deer in February here in Michigan.
Right. So they sent the sharpshooters out. And they had to be on a list of names, so not just anybody could willy-nilly go out and shoot. And they started when we got there was already 2 in, but then soon after we got there, they started rolling in. And as you can see with the picture on the screen here, that they started weighing them. And that was kind of fun.
They were people guessed.
Oh, yeah, it was kind of fun, guessing, and because they weighed them fully intact.
Yes. They've had the air let out of them. They brought them in, put them on the scale before the guts came out of them. It's basically dead weight, live weight. They're not field dressed. Average weight was probably 140 to 150.
Yeah, we had a couple
60s.
160s.
Yeah.
And we had on the light side, too. So they're going for different across the age structure as well.
Right, and we've talked about that here on the show. And actually, the interview we did with Dr. James Kroll, it was video. So we're going to put that together and put that out at a later time. But it basically goes through and explains a lot of things that we've talked about over the years here about choosing the right deer to shoot, or whether they're bucks or does, age class,
and why.
Yeah, and he goes through all that. So,
and he even touches the subject of disease.
Yes, he does.
So, but that is
you may or may not agree with it,
but that was a great interview. That kind of surprised us how we ran the interview, but.
Yeah,
we adapted and did well.
Right.
So then after they weighed them, they brought them in. This is cool. They had their own little gutting table station, which was really cool because that's when Wayne was doing the kind of the main gutting, and then they had some DNR guys helping out, doing other aspects from blood samples to pulling a gland to opening them up.
Yeah, and when they had them there on the table, as you can see in the photo there, we're seeing the butt end, obviously. On the head end, they would take and they would cut the deer's right front leg off.
Yes.
And they would take a sample of bone marrow out.
And what they're doing there is they're looking to see how the deer is at this point in time.
If it's stressed.
If it's stressed or not.
Yeah. And if you've got, he explained that if the marrow is not white, that if it's kind of pink and runny, a little bit bloody, that the deer is stressed. You know, it's having some trouble getting through the winter.
Yep.
You know, another leading indicator is kidney fat. They do a kidney fat index. Fat stores around the kidney area. And if there's a good amount of fat, they're doing really well. And if there's not, then they're in trouble. So those are some of the things.
And I don't know if you got a picture of that, but you'll see as we talk, there's an interesting fact that happened during this whole day. That was kind of interesting. But there you go. In this picture, you got Wayne. You know, Wayne would just go ahead and... Now I know what you use a pair of loppers for.
Yeah, break the pelvic cavity open.
Right.
You know, and once they had them up there on the table, they after they got done opening them up, they get a blood sample real quick. And like I said, do that bone marrow check. They cut the front head off, send it over to another table.
Yep, table over in the corner. They were doing the TB check.
Yep, and we'll show you a photo of that here later. But then they would take and they would tie off the esophagus. Wayne was on the back end. He was cutting the butt area out for the colon area, and they would grab the esophagus and the colon, pull them up together, and hold them. And one guy would cut all the connective tissue out from front to back, and they would pick the whole gut pile up, which you can see here in this photo, and they would take it over they'd slide it right down the table. They'd just slide it out of the deer onto the table.
Yep, and they would then start to
dissect
it, right.
And
as you can see in the picture here, in the main part of the picture is the guts and everything, but on the lower side is the
uterus.
Yep,
and that's where they'd take the fetuses out. They would take the ovaries, remove the ovaries, and they would check those. There's a way they can check them to see how many times that she's been bred.
Yep,
it would leave a little scar on the ovary, and they would take those and keep those to test later on. What they did with them once they got back to the lab, I don't know. But
well, they said they were going to take the ovaries, they were going to freeze them. Well, they're going to send them back to the lab, and then they were going to do that slicing thing. They were going to slice them, put them under a microscope.
Yep.
They're going to do a little bit more tests with the blood, and some of the things they had to take it back to the lab.
Yeah, and you can see some of like the tissue there on top. He called it the mezzanine fat.
Yes,
around the gut sac.
That was really cool. That they were watching. Shasta, who was taking all the information down at the computer, as they were starting the process, each person had something they were checking, and like Wayne would call out like the fat. Is it good? Is it low? Is it
medium?
And that was one of the dead giveaways of being a healthy. Was that fatty tissue was more around in that membrane.
Right.
So that was kind of cool.
Yep. So it, kind of going down the line here, we'll just keep popping some pictures up here. One good thing, you talked about the teaching moments. And I want to cover this, and then we'll go to our first break. But
this was cool.
He talked about the stomach, the 4-chamber stomach. You know, it's got the rumen, the mesum, the omasum, the abomasum, and I can't remember, what was it? The reticulum.
Yes.
It was the rumen, the reticulum, the omasum, and the abomasum.
And they went and got a stomach from one of the deer.
This is the inside.
They cleaned it out, and then he flipped it inside out, and then he proceeded to explain what each chamber did, and why the deer, how they ingest food, then they go sit and they rechew food, and it just how it all worked, and that was really cool. And he took some time to explain all that and explain what happens when they get
acidosis.
Yes, and I think CWD was another one. Was it CWD or was it
EHD?
Yes, EHD.
What was interesting, and I'm just going to give you a tease on this. He talked about them eating too much of the wrong thing at the wrong time of the year, and what it can do to your deer herd.
Yes.
And that's I'm not going to give it away because I want you guys to come back and watch the video later on when we post that. It was really interesting of listening to the information he had on that. So, but I tell you what we're going to do right now is we're going to step outside and take our first break, and we will continue this conversation when we come back.
All right, let's do it.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back to second segment of the show. What do you want to start with this segment?
You're right. What's the next picture?
Well, let me go down and find out, see where we were at here. Okay, so as we worked our way down the table, one thing they were checking was the liver. And as you can see in the photo there in the lower left-hand corner, he would slice the liver up.
Every half inch.
Every half inch, because he said once you get done, it's just the right size for breading and throwing in the frying pan if there's no liver flukes in it. I don't eat liver, and the flukes is another reason why I won't eat it. And he's holding a liver fluke right there in his hand. You can see it right there on his hand.
Right, exactly. And I tell you what, it was funny the way he put it after he said, some people just eat the liver and yeah, it's just part of the liver.
Right.
But it's actually a living thing, right?
It is.
It lives in the liver and
it's caused from deer eating in swampy areas. It's a snail. Am I right in saying that?
I do believe it was eating too many snails, yes.
Yeah, and there's a parasite that comes through that, and it winds up in the liver.
Right, exactly. And it lives in the liver.
Yeah. And it doesn't really do any tremendous harm to the deer.
And they can
get rid of them.
I guess get rid of them and grow out of them.
Yeah,
I guess is a way to say it, and it was really cool.
So if you guys are eating deer liver and you see one of these things, it's not part of the liver.
Right,
it is a parasite.
Yes. So Tim CS has got a question: was the workshop for anyone, and was there a cost to attend?
The workshop was actually by invite only.
Yep. Because it was held on a private club. It was an invited items only.
And there was no charge.
But because this club's been doing it for the 15th year, they hired Dr. Deer to come and do their thing. It was just that we were invited.
Yes. Being that we're one of the clubs that were around the area and doing the podcast and doing the live stream, we're trying to help get the education part of deer management out.
Yes, and that's we talked about that at length there. Shout out to Anna Mitterling. Mm-hmm. She was like a kid at Christmas, seeing all her co-op friends there.
Yeah, it
was pretty funny.
Yeah,
but and like you said here, getting the word out about the health of deer.
That's the important thing, and that's how we change. That's how we change our deer herd. That's how we make it better, is by getting this information out. And in the video that the interview we did with Dr. Deer, that's what he talked about.
Exactly.
I mean, that was the part in the end. It's getting information, it's sharing information, it's sharing the data. Yep. So people understand there's ways we can hurt our deer. There's ways we can help our deer, and make it better for everybody. So
it's just education.
Yeah, a lot of people just simply don't know. The one thing you do see there in this photo is the young lady there to the right is measuring a fetus that was pulled out of.
Now this is a cool factor.
Okay, now, guys and gals, we talked about the pictures. Here we go. We're going to put up a picture of a fetus that was pulled out and laying on the table, and plus one that's being measured. So,
right,
it is what it is.
It is. And here's a cool thing about science and what Dr. Deer they've done is they've developed a scale that you see in the bottom where she's got her hands. She's putting the fetus on a scale. Mm-hmm. And she's measuring that scale. Mm-hmm. And
she's measuring the fetus.
Well, she's measuring the fetus on the scale, right? Look, I'm so excited.
I understand.
But then whatever it measures out to be, 65, 89, 90...
That number correlates to a day.
They walk backwards, and then he can tell you the day that deer was bred with this fetus.
Yeah, there's a formula on the back of it, and he kind of explains that at some point during the day. But basically what they're doing is this gives you an indication of the deer that they bring in, the does they bring in, is, okay, we're measuring all these fetuses, and we know within 24 hours of when conception was. So at that point, you can see how tight the rut is.
Now, this was another factor is if it was carrying two, mm-hmm. they could be bred at different times.
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll see one that measures one day and one measures another day or maybe another day.
Right. And that was cool because it was one of these that was like at 90 and like 86. There was like a 3 or 4 day difference. And that correlated back to like November 11th and like the 16th. You know, it was just like, wow, that's really cool.
So when your buck breeds a doe, it's not always... You wind up with 2 fawns. It's not always the same buck,
right? Exactly.
You know, and that was something I never knew, and I heard that I believe the last time I was there.
Okay.
It's something that was like, wow, you know, say what?
Right.
You know, but that's what the science is telling us, man. That's the cool part about this. But going back to the rut, what they're doing is they're measuring these fetuses and trying to determine how tight that rut is. And we've talked about this on the show. They call it a trickle rut. I call it second, third rut. When your bucks don't breed all the does, when your buck to doe ratio is out of whack.
Yep.
And if you're getting, does being bred on that second go round, that third go round, when you're having late fawns, you're still seeing fawns with spots later on, getting towards season. It starts changing the dynamics, and we've talked a lot about that on this show.
Right, exactly.
But he's showing it here. This is the proof in the pudding. So
so now he's gone through the guts, looking at the livers, looking at the fetus, determining male, female, size, breeding. Here's a little buck fetus that was there when it was bred. They were looking at, like you said, the kidney fat. Mm-hmm. That was another call out that they were checking, and they were slicing these up pretty good, looking at all the different aspects from A to Z.
That's one thing I didn't put in. I didn't get a picture of the kidney fat index when they were doing the kidneys.
Okay.
So we got one. I just didn't get time to get it put into the
right, exactly. So, but that was cool too because they were bringing in does, and pretty much all of them were on the healthy side.
Yes.
They did bring in one buck.
Yep.
And that was from a different...
It was a different club.
They brought one buck in, and it started right off the bat when they checked the leg, and it was stressed. It was stressed.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's talk about that rut, that tightening the rut up. And we've talked about this numerous times, and you've heard me say it, but here is proof in the pudding. When you get what they call the trickle rut, I call second, third rut, when it extends over a period of time, and you've got breeder bucks that are chasing does, and they're chasing them for that second, that third time, they don't get time to recoup. They're burning body fat. They're burning energy. All they're doing is chasing does and breeding. That's their thing.
That's their thing. And this, it was a 2.5-year-old deer, a young deer.
Yeah.
And it proved out just about everything that he said from looking at the leg for the bone marrow to
the
kidney fat.
Yeah, it had very little fat.
And he said he stopped everybody. Said, "Hold on, here, look, guys.
What have we learned today?"
Yep, and
go right back to it.
Most of the does were coming in. It was almost like looking at a white softball around a kidney.
Yeah,
and then when he pulled up the buck's kidneys, it was like shriveled up. Mm-hmm. It was starting to wear down, and that was the buck. And he said most likely the buck would have made it. Mm-hmm. It still had enough fat, but it was stressed.
Yeah.
So, and here we are, almost the middle of February.
Right. And we've had a mild winter. Now, here's the other thing to think about, too. And he said most bucks, when they get stressed like this in a bad winter, they will wind up getting pneumonia.
Right. And they did have one that had pneumonia.
They had one doe come in that had pneumonia. And I wish I'd have got a picture. I couldn't get a good, clear picture quick enough to show that, but that was very eye-opening to see that.
And the one, I think what they're doing here in this picture that's on the screen is they're looking for the gland.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. We put that up and we completely skipped by it. This is when they took the head off of the doe. They took it over to another DNR official, biologist, and she was cutting them, working on the heads, looking at the lymph nodes and looking for TB, signs of TB.
Right.
And if it looked like, if it was suspect, if it showed any indications of having any infection, whether they wouldn't say it had or didn't have, they'd just take it and it would be sent to the lab.
Right, exactly.
And be checked. And they grow a culture.
To verify.
Yep, to verify. Either yes or no.
But they were also, and I can't remember the name of the gland that they were pulling out of the deer.
Here?
The growth gland.
Oh, the thalamus. Was it the thalamus or the
thymus?
Or the thymus?
Gabby, you remember?
Thymus.
Okay. And that was an interesting thing he said, because he pulled it out of the buck and they showed it. He goes, we should not be able to find this.
Right.
It should be, we shouldn't be able to find it, but because this buck is stressed, it's enlarged, we can find it.
Right. So But yeah, here, this was on right down below the ear is where one of the lymph nodes they check. Then they turn the head over and they check underneath the jaw area. There's several there that they check as well. So just another way that they're checking for TB or infection. And speaking of that, I want to go somewhere kind of off site here for just a second because I started talking to this lady about TB. And if you remember, we had a case here in southern Michigan, in Oakland County, and this deer, they showed pictures of this thing it was infected. It was nasty.
It looked very, very TB.
Yeah, and this report came out from the DNR, a press release saying that it was suspect. Well, the media just ran with it. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, my gosh. We talked about it on the show, if I remember right.
Just south of us, right?
Right. Well, I asked her, I said, what about the deer from Oakland County? And she said, that deer did not have TB.
It was not TB.
It had something else.
She confirmed that it was not TB.
It come back negative for TB. And I said, so did they put out a press release to tell everybody? She said, no. She said, and that's something that we have to address, is getting the word out and making sure that it gets back into the media because, as much as I'm involved in the media every day, I haven't heard about this. And
there was no follow-up to that whatsoever.
So people still think it is, but it's not true. That deer didn't have it.
It was a very, 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 very bad infection.
Yes.
But it was not TB.
Right. So...
Which that was kind of talking to that lady there we talked about a couple other situations that again came back to the needing DNR needs to work better in communications.
Absolutely. So that picture there, that's talking with Dr. Kroll,
Dr. Deer himself.
Yeah, Dr. James Kroll, right there at the table he was doing necropsies and I was talking. So,
right.
It
was kind of relaxing for him to actually work and be interviewed at one time.
It was a great day. Good information. Not just good. It was great information. Being able to see actual biological work going on the ground, hands on with our DNR as well, hand in hand, working and studying deer and learning. And sharing this information with the public. I can't thank everybody enough that made this possible. So, but I tell you what, we're going to step outside right now. We're bumping up here on our second break, and when we come back, do we want to bring our guest in here the next
Absolutely.
segment? All right. So we got a special guest here in studio. So we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
So what do you do when you've completely redefined the way bows are engineered? When you've reached the pinnacle and the band starts playing your victory song, you start a revolution. Out of thin air. Introducing the all-new PSE Carbon Air, engineered with true carbon technology to be the lightest high-performance bow in the world. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets, or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back, everybody. Third segment of the show. Almost said second. Can't count it. I'm tired.
3. You are tired. Well, I'm going to not blame you because the last 3 days we've been
on the go.
Snow.
Right. And driving early in the morning and late at night as well. So
right. But
welcome to the show, Gabby.
Thanks, guys.
No, Gabby's here.
Yeah.
Everybody welcome Gabby to the show.
That's right.
First time on the show.
Yeah.
So she might be a little nervous.
Just a little? All right. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. But you know what? She's actually just picked up bow hunting the last couple years.
Okay.
And so she's never, ever seen the insides of a deer.
Okay.
Obviously, she's seen the outsides because we sit on the back porch and watch.
Yeah.
But
we've all seen the outside of deer.
Right, exactly. So, but how many times can you go see what we saw?
Right.
So, Gabby and Kelly came up with us and got to watch this whole presentation, I guess. The whole health check.
Right.
And was it cool or what?
Oh, I never thought I would be able to get a chance to experience anything like this, honestly.
it was cool. Now, a little side note is that Gabby is also a paramedic.
So she's seen the insides of people.
Right. So now she wants to see an inside of a deer. So.
Right?
Yeah, a little different, but not much, but still absolutely amazing. Never, just the way the whole process worked when they did it, I just thought we were going to sit there and observe and just kind of just see it, but for him to actually, explain everything and,
gather around the table and
seriously.
Actually, he walked around a couple of times.
Yeah, willing to just passing out information left and right.
And deer parts.
And deer parts, right? One cool thing was the parasite.
Yeah.
On the liver, that was housed on the liver. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was kind of cool. It was waiting, and he said that was because of
snails.
Yeah, and then if a predator eats it, they get it.
Oh, you're talking about the tapeworm.
Yeah.
Tapeworm cysts.
Yeah,
Yes.
a little different.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of that?
Oh God, I never thought I'd see one.
It was moving around.
Yeah, I never thought I'd actually get a chance to see one live. You always see them in class and jars and everything, but not straight out of live like a deer coming like that.
Right, exactly. And I'm sorry I didn't have enough time when I was gutting Kelly's deer to show her maybe all this stuff, but I was not in the mood to have science class.
Right out in the
field.
Out in the field, but when it's getting dark and you're losing light quickly.
Absolutely.
So. But what out of all that, start when you got there. What was the cool factor for you? What was the coolest part?
Well, one, never seen that before ever, was just cool in general. And then when we get there, you walk in, you see this table laid out. You're like, oh, what is this? And then you get a chance to actually they bring in a deer, and you're watching everything happen. And you're like, oh my gosh,
right?
Just to see the process in general, and I don't know, I enjoyed all the blood and guts, anyways. So for that just to happen right out in front of me for the first time ever, and being walked through the process and being walked through all the information that I had never heard before in my life, and hearing practically just all the ins and outs that have to happen in order to get a successful deer.
Right.
That's the cool part.
Looking at it that whole day, the cool factor and all that. Let's say you're out in the field this year, you get your first deer. What do you think is going to come back into your mind that you're going to remember from yesterday?
And no, I'm not going to gut it for you. So let's just get over that right now.
Well, kind of learning basically how to gut a deer, never seen that ever before. And, seeing just they were shooting them out left and right. And, kind of pick up some techniques on that. And I guess, that was pretty much it. And just, learning all about the different ins and outs of the deer itself was the coolest part, and something I'll take away from it for sure.
And what not to cut.
Yeah, what not to cut.
Right.
And he managed every time not to do it unless he did it purposely.
Yeah, that's the one thing. All the deer that came through, it didn't stink in there. It didn't. No. It didn't. You could smell deer. Okay.
You could smell that wonderful the inside scent.
But it wasn't like gut sack.
No, absolutely no. It was not.
It was
that.
just that warm inside smell.
The warm, yeah. But then they would open the door to bring, and it would refresh the air.
Yeah.
So it's no big deal.
Right.
So and then Dave Cadman here on is actually saying hopefully someone was passing out back straps.
I wish.
That was mentioned as somebody asked the one guy. He goes, while you're cutting everything out, you want to just cut the back straps?
Right. But actually, these deer are donated. They're donated to the food pantries in the area. They have already donated 2,500 pounds this year from camp. And that's where these were going to go as well. So nothing goes to waste. It doesn't go to waste. It's a lot of the parts they were collecting things and they take back to the lab to use later. But the meat actually would go and it would help people who are less fortunate. So
right, exactly.
So it was a win-win-win the whole way around.
Yeah, it was educational. It was giving meat to the needy, and it was very cool. One question Gabby did have that was I didn't know, so we had to ask the expert, was after the deer is shot, how long do the fetuses live?
Okay.
And I said, well, let's go ask Dr. Deer, because I have no idea. And we caught him when he was sitting down. And so what did he say when we asked him that?
He said, it all depends on how far along the fetus is, but it normally doesn't last too long, obviously, because once blood supply is kind of cut off, it kind of doesn't have much to live off of. Right. But yeah, it kind of really depended on how far developed they were. Okay. But it wouldn't take long after.
And in this instance, what we were dealing with, he said it was just a
quick.
couple minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. By the time they typically get them back, it's over. he said out of the thousands that he's done, maybe 1 or 2. But obviously, as the fetuses get older and bigger, then they would live longer.
Right.
But right now, they're not living but a minute or 2.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Well, it was kind of it kind of was
just one of those things you don't think about all the time.
Yeah,
No.
and they started throwing the fetuses out there. I'm like, and then she asked it, and I'm like, well, that's a good question.
Well, you come over and you ask me, and like, well, I said, I looked at you, and I'm like, I don't know. I said, go ask him.
Ask
you know?
the expert.
Yeah, ask the expert. Ask the man who knows. So, you know, it, and that's what that was good about that whole day was the fact that you could take and ask just about any question, and he had an answer for you. I mean, this guy's done thousands of these things. Thousands.
Yeah, you could just tell based on how he was talking, all the information he had. It was insane how much he knew.
Yep.
Like you said, he's probably forgotten.
More than I'll ever know.
Right.
Yeah. So.
No, that was just awesome, and so glad that we could take you guys
Oh, absolutely.
and see that, because it's not every day you get to have it put out in an assembly line fashion for you.
No.
And explained, and have somebody willing to sit there and take the time to explain it.
You know, and I think that's, like I said, in the interview I did with him, he explained it at the end, that's where everything's kind of trending now, and it's turning, is the fact, you know, back in the day, you know, you had your professors that study things, or, you know, biologists that study things, and then if you got lucky enough to be able to talk to one, you know, they would talk in a way you really didn't understand what they were saying. You know, and he's talking now. He said, this is what we need to do. We need to be able to take the information that we're getting and the things we're studying and pass that information along to the general public and the people that are out there in the woods, so they can be better informed of how to manage their deer herd in their habitat.
And I think with Gabby and Kelly here, it's kind of more of when we're out in the woods, it's more of an educational thing than just sit here and shoot.
Right.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
from an outside perspective and never really being in this, I mean, that's all I knew was you see a deer and you shoot it, and
Right.
all the things building up on how to get that deer there and how to get a healthy deer in front of you type aspect. So now I took that away from that, and it's pretty cool to see that.
And that's kind of how it's actually changing like that. And I know you and I are more into the educational part, which that's happening. But yeah, it's like when we go out, it's more of a teaching thing that we do than. Sure, I wanted to shoot one.
Right.
You know, but
how did you set up? How did you get there? Why is the deer doing that? Why is the deer eating that? Why is he eating that and not that?
right,
You know?
exactly. You know, and that's a whole other issue with what they're eating and why they're eating it and when they eat it.
Why is he acting that way? Or why is she acting that way? Why do we not have enough young buck fawns around? You know, why are we seeing less buck fawns and we're seeing more doe fawns?
Right.
Well, there's a reason for that, you know, and now we know the answers. So, you know, or, you know, why do we have so many buck fawns around? You know, more buck fawns than doe fawns. You know, there's a reason in the way things work in nature, you know,
Exactly.
and if we can help guide that to get it to the way it's supposed to be, you know, naturally. Because if not, Mother Nature's going to take care of it herself.
Mother
and
Nature
it's
has
gonna
a
get
cruel way of doing it.
Yeah. So why not do the best we can do for what our animals
And
need?
I think this part of the education is teaching about it. It's almost kind of like people, and Dr. Deere said it. We're going to have to live with the disease.
Yeah.
We're not going to get rid of it.
Right.
Whether it be TB, CWD, EHD, pick one.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to get rid of it.
Manage it.
We're going to have to manage it.
Yeah,
And
manage our way around
This
it.
is the best way to manage it,
Yep.
he thinks. And he's, like a lot of things he did say. And if you remember that he said, if he said something, he's, and we got the scientific data to back that up. Mm-hmm. We got the scientific data to back that up.
Right. Yeah. Because some of the things are controversial.
You think?
Some of the things, you know, and at one point during the interview, when I kind of got done, is like, well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? And he's like, well, he says, do you want to ask the loaded question?
Right. Which I thought it was kind of funny because I shut off the record and I'm listening to you guys talking. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is going to go somewhere.
Yeah. And then he, and I kind of looked at him. I go, which is? And he goes, CWD. I said, do you want to go there? He goes, yeah, let's go there. I said, okay, let's go there. You know, and we started talking about it. So, because it affects all of us here in this state right now. It affects people around the Lansing area a whole lot more than it affects you and me.
That's right.
You know, the people that hunt there. But
Well, Anna Middling, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
She's in
she's in the
CWD
core
zone.
area. So, those people have a deeply vested interest. We've got a vested interest, but they've got. I mean, it's in their back door.
Yeah, it is.
So everybody's got an idea. Well, it's either this or it's that. We need to do this or we need to do that. Well, wait a minute. You want to come in and do what? And it's kind of everywhere right now, and everybody's waiting for that magic bullet, so to speak, to fix it. And
there is none.
Yeah,
they don't know.
So how do we work with that? And he kind of explained some of that.
He did. He explained it, and then
you may or may not agree with it,
right? And then we're here doing at this health check, and what happens? But a representative shows up.
I want to save that for last second.
Well, no, I'm just teasing because
all right.
Lincoln Roan, who was there from Let 'Em Go, Let 'Em Grow, he was just in awe as well. He was running around with his phone live
streaming
everything.
Yeah.
But then he walks over and says, "Hey, I have a representative here," and is like, here we are. Right. We're all learning. He wanted to learn too.
Absolutely, it's the first time he'd been there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got a guy from the 105th district, Tristan Kroll, coming to a health check, learning, who actually is back in Lansing.
Right. So
that was cool. And then, before we got to him, we had a great lunch.
Right. Yeah.
She liked the chili.
Chili was good.
Yeah.
I liked the clam chowder.
Clam chowder was good. It was all good. The whole day was good.
It was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to step outside. We're going to take our last break. We come back. We'll kind of wrap things up a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about meeting state rep, Tristan Kroll, and talk about when we stopped over at our property and checked on our logging project.
Yep.
So we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
I shoot PSE because I like one pin to 40 yards.
I shoot PSE for the perfect combination of feel and performance.
I shoot PSE because you can shoot lighter poundage and increase arrow speed.
I shoot PSE for the fastest bows on the planet. I shoot PSE because my livelihood depends on my bow.
I shoot PSE because better engineering makes a better bow.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE. I shoot PSE.
Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show. 451, almost in the books.
Yes.
Before we get to the end of the show, talk about our contest.
Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching us on Facebook. You better be liking and sharing us because we're running a contest. It started last week, but we're only talking about it here on the live show. And
you're hearing it on the podcast, but you have to come to the live show to enter.
Exactly. So what you need to do is you need to come back here to the live show, which you're watching, or you're listening to the podcast, come to the live show. You need to do the usual stuff. Like our page. Obviously go like Carbon Express because we're going to be giving away a half dozen of Carbon Express arrows. And we're going to be giving away a shirt and hat. And to do that, you need to tag 3 friends in there as well.
And you got to like the live stream. The live stream portion here, they'll be recorded and saved on our page, our Facebook page.
And we'll do that twice. It'll be saved now as you see it, and then I'll re-release it on Wednesday in YouTube. YouTube.
Yeah, but you'll post that on Facebook as well?
Yep.
And you can enter there as well. So
absolutely. So we got a contest running. We're kind of... It's live stream only.
That's right, and this will be the last week that we're running. So are we going to announce next week who it is?
Probably.
Okay, on the show?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking, just making sure.
Yep. We'll find a winner. We already got some people entered.
Yep. So
we will have a winner.
That's right. So get out there and like it and share it.
It might not be a chicken dinner, but we're going to have a winner.
Winner. All right. Kind of getting back to what happened yesterday. Danny comes over to me. I just got done entering, talking about the contest, got me thinking entering. I just got done interviewing Dr. James Kroll. So I'm feeling pretty good. It's like, man, I got to talk to Dr. Kroll and all that, and putting the camera gear away, and you come up to me and go, hey, do you want to do an interview with Michigan rep? And I go, a rep for what? You go, Michigan. I go, well, what does he rep for in Michigan? Thinking, we're in the outdoor industry. When you say the word rep, it has a whole different connotation,
right?
For us. I'm like, well, what company is he repping for? Because I work with OSMG. We rep for Vortex.
Right.
So I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, I hope it's not a conflict of interest.
It took me a minute to figure out why you were so lost.
Yeah, and you just kept looking at me like, you idiot. And I'm looking at you like, well, why aren't you telling me who he reps for? And then you finally said, state of Michigan, like the government. And I'm like, oh, like a congressman? Oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, I was like, right over my head. So that was pretty funny. But, yeah, we got to meet Tristan Kroll, 105th State Rep. Which is up in the area of the APRs.
Yes, Northwest 12, in that area.
Up in that general area. And he is on the Sportsman's Caucus for the state of Michigan. And I didn't know there was a Sportsman's Caucus. And he sits on that he's a chairman.
He's the co-chair.
Co-chair. And in the House of Reps, there's a co-chair from the Republicans and one from the Democrats.
Yep.
And then there's a co-chair from the Senate for the Republicans and the Democrats. So there's 4 people that sit on the caucus for the state, or for the sportsmen of Michigan.
Right. And he went on to explain. And Gabby, was that not cool that all of a sudden, out of all these people, here we are sitting down talking with a rep?
Yeah, it was one of the interviews I didn't expect to happen today.
Yeah, I had no clue.
Yeah, we had no clue. But what they're doing is they have the Michigan Sportsman's Caucus, and the lady that is chair basically has the purse strings of the DNR, which is a cool thing. And so what they've come to understand that we've got some issues with what's going on in the state of Michigan.
TB, CWD, hunter recruitment.
Which is going down.
Yep. Deer population numbers and deer management.
Yep.
And amongst other things. And we're just talking about, that's just deer. There's fish, there's camping, hunting, there's public lands, and forestry.
90% of the funds
come from hunter licenses.
Yep.
Hunter and fishermen's. When you go and buy your hunting and fishing license, 90% of the money for the DNR's budget comes from that.
Right.
So
then we sat down, we did a great interview with him, and we'll release that a little bit later. But why he was there also was Lincoln Rohn invited him as well. And Lincoln Rohn sat down with him, and I think Lincoln Rohn is starting to learn the after last year's events. He's learning the legislative people to go talk to.
Right.
And basically, you got to listen to this interview, which was a great interview. But I want to tell you right now, people, he even said, please send us an email.
Yep.
We do read them all. And we do want to hear whether it be a good experience, a bad experience, of something about the outdoors that you want to tell them. They will listen. So an email does work,
whether it's good or bad.
Right.
If you had success, send them a picture of your kid and you and the deer that your kid shot or you shot, or the fish you caught, camping on state land somewhere, wading a stream, whatever.
And then again, listen to the interview, because Tristan, his background is just not, hey, I'm Joe Politic.
No, he didn't start out there.
Nope. He started off with his dad, and then he got a job at the sanctuary being a guide, and then he's been in the outdoors. He now owns a farm. So he's not just a career person.
No, he's not a career politician by any stretch of the imagination. He puts his hunting boots on one at a time, just like we do. So
right, exactly.
He's got a vested interest. And what the biggest thing I got out of the interview from him was, okay, he's on conservative, but he's reaching downstate. Don't take that the wrong way. He's reaching downstate to the inner cities and getting a hold of representatives in that area and bringing them up north for outdoor experiences and showing them this is what Michigan has to offer. This is why we care so much about this. This is why we're so passionate, and we want this to be a playground for everybody to enjoy. It's a treasure for us.
He made one of the best comments was, you hear everybody wants to go to Ohio to hunt. Yeah. He wants to hear, I want to go to Michigan to hunt.
Exactly. Why not? Right. We've talked about that I don't know how many times on this show. People are leaving to go other places to hunt. If we get them back here, it's going to bring revenue in. Well, revenue is going to make people want to buy land here. It's going to raise our tax base up, because land's going to be more valuable when it's a commodity that people want. Right. Tax base means these other little towns and villages finally get some money infused back into them to put infrastructure in or help our school systems, you know, or other projects that are needed in these communities. So
exactly,
it's a win-win-win, you know. So
and just like the experiences with Kelly and Gabby, we go out, we have the experience, and so they have something to remember whatever we did by. Mm-hmm. Just like he's doing with those people, from whether it be from Jackson, Detroit, wherever he grabs whatever he does with them, takes them out. Mm-hmm. I guess he's going to be crawling in a bear den next month or something like that.
Yeah, I'd like to go.
Yeah, me too.
Take me.
Right? So, you know, and I think that's great, you know, Kelly and Gabby being in their early 20s, seeing that the representatives are out there and care.
Absolutely. I've never, to hear a state representative come in and talk to you guys like that, mm-hmm. and just seeing the passion in the conversation was something I never thought, you know, you just don't see. So to see that was pretty cool and just super exciting. It
is, you know, and for people of your age, you know, I wish I could have experienced something like that when I was that age, you know. Back when I was in my 20s, you know, I was getting out of college. I was getting back into the woods with my dad. You know, but it was, you know, you go out and sit in the snow and shoot a deer, bring it home, throw it in the freezer. You know, it was just there. I don't want to say it was mundane, and I don't want to take away from those experiences, but it wasn't. I wish it was more robust and like what we do now with our families.
It's gotten to be so much more than that.
Yeah, it goes a lot deeper.
It's like when Kelly went in October, it wasn't just we went up there, got out there, shot a deer, that was it. It was there more to it.
Right.
When we take Gabby with us and she goes out there, there's more to it.
Yep. And I don't want, like I said, I don't want to take away from my experiences when I was younger. I cherish those, but I've also realized that there's more to this outdoors than just that.
I think it's showing us that there's more. It's becoming more and more of an educational thing. It's becoming more of an event in our lives to do it. It's not just go out there and shoot.
Right.
There's more to it.
Yeah, it's not like going out there to get the biggest one. It's like, that's awesome to get the big one, but
yep.
it's just, there's way more to it, and I never thought I would ever learn about that till now.
Putting meat in the freezer, shooting does, making sure that we keep our herd balance, you know, doing the right things to make sure that that nature is in balance, you know, and it does its thing it's supposed to do and the way it's supposed to be, because, you know, we've done a lot to screw up the outdoors over the years, you know, and it's, you know, we're trying to fix it, you know. So, and I know everybody doesn't agree with us the way we do things sometimes, but you know what? The one thing you can't say is that we don't have a passion about it and that we don't care, because we do. You know, it's not about, like you said, it's not about putting antlers on the wall all the time or shooting the biggest deer that's out there. It's to me, I'm trying to take care of the resources we got. So
speaking of, right, exactly. And speaking of resources, we made a quick trip to your cabin to look at your logging project.
Yes, we did. We busted over there. I think that's the shortest amount of time I've actually spent on the property. So
and basically, you drove it.
Yeah, I just noticed. Okay, you answered Tim's question. I was going to say, Tim, we're going to answer that in a minute, but you took care of that.
I got it.
Yeah, we went over, checked out our latest logging project, and once again, when I drive onto the property and I know as we're coming up to it, I'm like, I wonder what it's going to look like, and you kind of like cringe a little bit, and then you look at it and you go, wow, that changed. Wow. That you know, and it's a shock to the system compared to what you are used to seeing, but I got really excited because I know what it's going to do and what it's going to become.
And Gabby was the same way when she saw our property.
Oh my gosh!
You're like, what did you do?
Well, yeah, you see it for the first time. You see like all these trees. You come back and it's like, oh my god. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't see anything, but then, you know, he's telling me all about like why we log and all that stuff, and I was like, it makes a little more sense. And yeah, like you said, it gets you definitely a lot more excited to see what's going to happen, what's going to come back.
Yep, you know, and there's a lot of potential, man. It's just all the deer that were in the cut.
I was just about to say, we saw a deer. I mean, you couldn't get more excited. And the most important thing now is because of the way they cut it, you could see the deer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, they didn't leave a bunch of slash down. I mean, they cleaned up real nice. We chipped everything. Anything that was left over. You know, the area we cut was dead wood. I mean, that section of our land had a huge infestation of spruce bedworm. It come through. It wiped out all our spruce trees, our evergreens. I mean, it was a dead forest. So we did get some logs out of there that did pay some money, but most of that cut went into chips.
And one of the things that happened on our property as well is your loss.
We lost probably 50% of what we made.
Right.
Yeah. And what we made, we could have doubled that.
Yep, exactly. And it ended up being chips.
Yep. Yeah.
49 truckloads of chips for you?
Yeah, 49 semi-loads of chips is what we pulled out of there, you know. But as we started moving, you know, towards the west, up the property line, it did get a little better, and we know the rest of the cut that's coming on the next go-around, the logs are better. But, you know, when you've got... Here's the other thing, folks. I went to a prescribed burn seminar on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. I spent 2 days in Battle Creek, Michigan, down on Fort Custer at the Army base. Yeah, they let me out. They didn't throw me in the brig.
Oh,
but I learned so much about prescribed fire on the ground and using it to change the landscape and bolster your habitat to get it to regenerate. And if you've got standing dead wood, like what we had, a forest fire comes through there, it's going to burn everything in sight, number one. Secondly, it's going to burn so hot that it's going to sterilize the soil and nothing is going to grow. And why take that chance? Number one, it's dead wood. Why are deer going to go into that forest when there's nothing there to eat?
Right.
Do you go to a closed-down restaurant and knock on the door and sit there and wait for them to feed you? Or do you go to a restaurant that's got food?
We went to the lunchbox. It had food.
It had food. It was good food.
Good food. But you're right, and that's the thing, right? So you got the initial shock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a shock, but you see it. So probably see it in the fall. It'll start to look different.
It's going to look it's going to look different, all right, in the spring. but no, the areas we've already logged, like 2 years ago, we're starting to see some regen already. You give it 3 to 4 years, and you're going to see a noticeable change. I took you to the north end of our property.
Yes.
And I showed you, we drove through that section that had been logged about 10, 15 years ago. You know, trees were what, 15, 20 foot tall?
Right. And it was thick.
Thick. Yeah.
And there was lots of tracks through them.
Yeah. So, you know, it's going to come back. It takes time. But now that we're in this rotation of management, once we get everything kind of done and we start this rotational.
Well, and that's what, going back to quickly referencing Dr. Deere, about their wintering food programs. They use their logging projects as their wintering food program.
Yep.
So this actually worked out in your favor to do it right now.
Absolutely.
Because we saw 25 deer.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah.
Just standing there, just kind of cruising, while they're looking at us.
Yeah.
We were interrupting their dinner, I think.
Right. So, no, I'm really excited about it. You know, we went up and we checked the oak wilt area where we started cutting for the oak wilt.
That was neat.
Yeah, so you got to see that area.
We never did find the trench.
No,
but it was there. But it was with snow cover, I'm assuming. We could find it if it wasn't.
Right.
Actually, to tell you the truth, I thought it was going to be bigger.
The oak wilt cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he said it's like 2/3. It's about 2/3 done. So, you know.
Yeah, that surprised me that I pictured it bigger, but not being able to stand at the top of the hill and kind of visualize it. It's only this.
Yeah.
But if you got a little bit more to go. I thought it was huge. I really did. I thought it was, you're going to have this massive trench around. That's what I was
this big mode area.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like,
no, it's you know, it's exciting to get that done. It's a bad situation, but it's exciting to get that portion done so we can, once it's clear, we can replant and move on. Yeah, and just, you know, hopefully that area regen real well, and we'll just move on with it.
Right, exactly. So that'd be cool.
But yeah, a lot of good stuff this week. You know, the stuff with the prescribed fire. You know, the stuff up at Turtle Lake. I mean, we got a lot to talk about. We can still talk about on next week's show.
Yep, exactly. We definitely got to talk about the burning one, because you seem to have been the only person there from a private club.
Yeah, there's 105 people there, and I think I was the only private landowner at that event.
One or two, I think.
Might have been two.
Anna, I think, said two.
Yeah, so that being said, they were very excited to see me there and making inroads, because that's, you know, well, I tell you what, we'll just talk about it.
We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, because it's something really cool.
But before you sign off, just a reminder to everybody that's listening to the podcast, go to the live Facebook feed. We got a contest going. Go check out the rules, what you got to do, back on the live Facebook feed.
Yep, we explained it all there. So
we did.
Go check that out, and we'll see everybody next week. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Scent Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Turkey Calls,
Antler Action,
Family Tradition Tree Stands,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.